Good day and thank you for joining me for another period of 5-minute Bible time. Today we'll be looking at the book of Job. This book follows the book of Esther. And maybe just in a nutshell, the book of Job looks at the life of a man who the Bible describes as perfect and upright before God. And essentially, some things happened to him because he was being tested, basically, is what it was, and this was because of the devil. And we see a certain outcome out of that. Some of his friends come and comfort him because of the events that took place. And at the end of that, God joins in and basically lays everything straight. Now, I'm not going to pick out too many chapters out of here. I wanted us maybe, if to focus on anything, on the first two chapters and perhaps the last few chapters towards the end of the book, starting from 38. But I'm going to focus mainly on the first two, so I did not pick out too many chapters for this book because it's got a lot of chapters in of itself, but it's a pretty good book to read. A lot of lessons can be learned from this. Now note that in terms of the seed line, I cannot say this still follows the seed line, but it's a very important book in the Bible, and there are so many things we can learn from it, which without it we'd be missing a lot of good things which we can learn about God. It teaches us so much more about God and his character. So here we meet Job. He's an affluent man, he's rich, and in those days it was counted in terms of livestock and not money. And maybe as some people who keep livestock, you'll know your livestock is worth a certain amount of money. So he had a lot of livestock, he had a lot of children, servants, everything was going well for him. And then the devil, as we see in chapters 1 and 2, goes to God, and I guess God presents Job as an upright servant of his, and that's a very important thing to note. So one thing I want to point out about that is it matters a lot more what God thinks of us than what we should be. We shouldn't be too worried much about what other people think about us, but what God thinks of us. And I am not saying for us to be careless in how we deal with other people, but what is most important when you say somebody is a good person, you should be looking at the values that God looks at. It is possible for me to be good in front of you, and yet somebody else who knows me elsewhere knows me as this wild person who does all sorts of things you would never expect. So a good person should be following the values that God has set out, that standard. I think I've spoken about that standard a lot. Should be following that standard. So Job is being measured according to God's standard, not because he doesn't do certain things. We look at a person in the world, and because he doesn't do certain things we consider bad, then we say he's a good person. But we are looking at him in terms of God's eyes, and that's the most important. And maybe one thing some people may struggle with the book of Job, Satan does not attack us as we see here in the book of Job. And note that he had to ask for God's permission to do that. He couldn't just do that. But he does not have that kind of permission nowadays. So Satan does not do personal attacks on anybody, on people. And by that I mean he doesn't go, okay, today I'm gonna attack this guy, and today this woman, and you know what, tomorrow I'll have this one, or I'll save this one for a special occasion. He does not do that. So this is just something that is shown so that we can learn a lot more. And note that there are things going on in the background which we are not aware of. There is a spiritual realm where God reigns, And a lot of people, we are not, we do not know what's going on in the spiritual realm at this moment. But a lot of people have chosen to be ignorant that there is a spiritual realm where God is. So we need to take note of that. The things which are known to God, which are not known to us, but He has revealed what we need for this life. So we should not concern ourselves with too many other things, but live for God. One thing I've thought a lot about is how, and I think this has been said sometimes, a lot of money is spent in flying to all these planets. I mean, that's good research, it's good to know those things, but a lot of it is in search of aliens. Let me not get into too much of that because it's a personal opinion. But there are certain things which we may not understand, but God is already in control of everything. So we just need to put our trust in God and live for God. And again, I'm not saying to be ignorant. Do not be ignorant. You learn the things you need to learn. And you just put your trust in God and live as you should be living. Be good to, God commands us to live well with other people. As you can see, Job is an example of that. And let me just give a quick summary of the book because I've reached the end of my time and I'm still going on. So the book is essentially, we're looking at the life of a man named Job, who a lot of bad events happened to him because of the devil. And from chapter 3, it's Job and his friends going back and forth. His friends had come to comfort him. And from chapter 38 to the end is God setting the record straight. So that is what this book is. And an important lesson to take away from that is bad things will happen to good people. Just because I'm a Christian does not mean I should not expect bad days. There will be bad days. But because God is there for me, for all of us, that should be able to carry us through. Enjoy your Bible studies. Thank you.